Why do y'all think it's the babies that's hurting our community? Like, babies are innocent. Children don't do anything to anyone. They're not, I mean, what are black kids out here doing? Are they committing mass murders? I mean, what exactly are black kids doing? You know what I mean? What exactly are black children doing? You see what I'm saying? I just gotta say, I always go back to Tupac Shakur's verse where he says we're gonna have a race of babies that hate the ladies that make the babies. Because, and obviously when we say babies, we're talking about grown adults here who are, but I just don't understand how children are the problem. Like, you guys are starting to sound like Margaret Sanger. It's just not really making a lot of sense to me. You talk about cycles of poverty. We're in poverty because of America, because of a lack of reparations, okay? Because of 40 acres in the muse that was never given to us, okay? Because we have to build everything from scratch, starting at -0. That's with child or without child. I'm just not understanding. I think we got to introduce some other solutions into the dialogue here. You think that by foregoing motherhood, that you're gonna become the next Oprah, or are we striving for Bill Gates? Because I think we're striving for Bill Gates these days. You know what I mean? Subconsciously, what are we talking about? Black people in this idea of generational wealth, y'all black people, because I just don't understand it, you guys. I'm just not understanding. I need someone to make it very plain to me. You talk about single mothers in poverty. Okay, so then what about homelessness? What about mass incarceration and the people who are then wrongfully convicted, right? And then they're freed, and then they're felons, and they can't get jobs. I just think about, there's so much stuff that is taking place within this community, and I'm sorry, but it can't be the babies. The babies aren't doing anything. And so I think what this is doing, however, when you start talking about psychological abuse, because America has already set us up to be disproportionately impoverished and disenfranchised, right? And then with slavery, though we were no longer in chains, what white America did was introduced ideas and doctrine into our community that we now use on each other, right? And so they're no longer abusing us. They're no longer, possibly, but now it's more so in the form of microaggression, right? It's not as overt, we're all aware of that, you know what I mean? You can't just come out and say certain things, and so the psychological warfare is something that is induced in our community, and then we just perpetuate it on one another. And so how this shows up and how this has been persistent within our communities is it's this thing that you have where if you're telling yourself that it's the babies, then you're going to go out and you're going to abuse children, right? Because in your mind, children are the problem. Children are the reasons why you're broke, right? Children are the reason why you're going through what you're going through. You see what I'm saying? And then what happens? These children grow up, and then we have a perpetual cycle of demoralization, right? We have a perpetual cycle of dysfunction, and the psychological warfare persists for generations, and white people don't have to have us in chains and in bondage, right? We're doing it to each other. So please refrain, okay? Divest from this dialogue. Pick up a book, okay, and start really looking at the wealth, the wealth gap, the wealth disparities, and start understanding that there are so many other things that are going on within the Black community, within American society, from a modern age, even from a historical standpoint, that have contributed to our demise. It is not children. It's not children. It's not. See, when you say that, when we create these narratives and we persist in these narratives, what happens? You know what happens? Other people then go and abuse our children, right? This is why when our boys go to school, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that it's not systemic, but on a psychological level, guess what you have? You have very harmful stereotypes towards our Black boys, right? They're immediately penalized. not just because of racism, but because collectively we have an understanding, right? A very poor understanding, a piss poor understanding, right? That they are the problem. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's so crazy, the things that we say. It reminds me of like life and death being in the power of the tongue, but it's like, seriously, we got to kind of come out of this. We have to be free from this mentality. You know what I mean? Do you not understand that we have to kind of step back for just a moment, right? And I know in contrast, it's always white America. I'm sorry. That's where I'm at right now. in my understanding. Okay. But please understand that white people have babies, white men leave their families. Okay. And the issues that may persist within white America, it is what it is. But I'm more so just saying that, like, I don't know where I was going with that, but essentially children are not the problem. Okay. There are white single mothers, who go on about their lives and who parent in peace and who are unfortunately given a lot more empathy, in regards to their situation. But I just think overall the narrative that like Black children are the cause for the community's crumbling is so crazy to me. You think about that level of shame that exists within Black children, right? Am I the reason why my parents aren't? Am I the reason why my mom is X, Y, and Z? You have no idea the narrative and what that does to them. That's crazy. And when you start talking about shame and everything that we inflict on Black children with these type of attitudes, whether it's subconscious or consciously, it's no wonder why you can't go forward with excellence, right? It's no wonder you have to settle for mediocrity if you want to start talking about generational wealth. Well, to do that, you need a pretty strong foundation. That strong foundation consists of things like, confidence, first and foremost, confidence in yourself, confidence in your abilities. Okay. That consists of things like self-worth. Why do you think so many of us grow up without self-worth and self-esteem, Black men and Black women? You see what I'm saying? It starts at a very foundational level. And it's this right here. We have to get this mentality out of the community. Okay. We have to exit out of the community because it is so incredibly harmful. It is so incredibly harmful. I was raised by a single mother, right? And my mom's doing fine. My mom's doing fine. I was very blessed materially. My mother's a nurse. And she's not even at the top of the food chain. You know what I mean? Were there some hard times? Sure. But we were blessed. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Maybe we need to have more of these conversations and start talking a little bit more about the reality. You know what I mean? I know single mothers who are doing just fine. Children are fine. Home is nice. Apartment is decent. It's realistic. You know what I mean? Does it to say that it comes with its struggles? No. But I think that the problem is that because of our aspirations, our modern day aspirations being modeled after whiteness and after European aesthetics, so many Black women who push this type of narrative, because I'm speaking mostly to Black women because I only ever really see Black women talk about this. But it's because you feel like if you just, leave all this alone, if you can just bypass this or forego this, then you can get to the other side and live this very like aesthetically appeasing corporate life. You see what I'm saying? So it's like so much of what we do and say is like, it's sacrifices that we think we have to make in order to assimilate. And what we don't realize is that those sacrifices oftentimes come at the expense of our community, right? Or even just as individuals. You see what I'm saying? And this isn't a matter of settling. This isn't a matter of wanting more for yourself or anything like that. But for how long has the narrative persisted that Black people have to forego their Blackness? And I'm not saying single motherhood is Blackness. Okay. I'm just saying how long have Black people bought into this idea that if they just exile themselves from their communities and they assimilate within white culture, they can have a piece of that American pie. They can have some of that money. They can get their hands on some of that generational wealth. Because that's really what this boils down to. People who come online and critique Black culture from a very simplistic, ignorant, and a bit of an echo chamber type of, in a very echo chamber type of way, are people who are ashamed of their Blackness. And they don't take time to consider all the nuance and all the complexity, like even the reality that they likely have been raised by a single mother and their mother is doing just fine. You know what I mean? Like they've literally had trials and tribulations in life that none of us can escape, and clearly they are triumphant and they're fine. You see what I'm saying? So it's like when we come on and we say these things, it's like, it's interesting. It's like, are we talking out the side of our necks here? Are we just being a talking head on the internet? I mean, what are we really talking about? How can you talk about something that it's your life? That's your life. How can you look at your life and say anything negative about your life? My mom's doing just fine. She's doing just fine. Could we, and this is the thing, right? This goes back into the aspirations of whiteness. And so what we do is we play into this idea of what if? Well, if our parents didn't have us when single mothers, then they could be here. We don't know that. All Black people think that if they just made, every Black person thinks if they just made a better decision, they would have generational wealth. They'd be in a Benz. They'd be in a better position. It's a lie. It's a lie, and it's self-inflicted, and this is our experience as Black Americans. We take all of the injustice, we take the inequality, we take the discrimination, and we turn it on ourselves. We ingest it, we internalize it, and then we take it, all of that self-hate, right, that is then put onto us, and then we project it onto others. And we just think if we could be a little bit more like this, okay, then we could get some of that pie. And this is the oldest trick in the book. So it's not the babies. Okay? It's not the babies. Single mothers are the scapegoat of American society, if you haven't noticed. Y'all don't do this to any other white single mother. Kylie Jenner and the Kardashian family quite literally sought out Black men for sperm insemination to procreate and have Black children and to always be a part of the richness that is Black culture. And these women have never been considered colonizers. They have never been shamed for being single mothers. I mean, it's like a fanciful thing for them, And so you got to keep that in mind. It's so funny. The hate that we have for ourselves is the very things that other people admire. These women went out their way they went and found degenerates, rappers, these men that were cheating on them. Just horrible. Also that they could have Black children. And the very thing that they covet and was willing to quite literally sacrifice all moral integrity to go about achieving is the very thing you hate. When are we going to realize that this is the oldest trick in the book? They make us hate ourselves, but the whole time, Kanye West said it. And I hate to reference him right here as we're talking about the Kardashians, but they made us hate ourselves and love their wealth. Okay? They made us hate ourselves and love their wealth. And this is what we're doing right here. This is what this is. This is when you really get to the foundation of all. This is what this is, y'all. We got to wake up. Tap in, because this is the oldest trick in the book. We got to come up higher in this. I mean, come on, seriously, leave the kids alone. Okay. A child is a child. You know what I mean? A child is a child. And for you to go on and say, oh, we're just so irresponsible, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, if you have kids when you're young, I mean, things happen. You get older, not so much, but I just think that these narratives are incredibly harmful because oftentimes it's fabricated. It's false. It's not the full story. You know what I mean? It's not the full story. And you have to understand that, as women, there are a lot of people who are in long-term relationships and ultimately end up having children. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that makes it right. I'm not saying I'm not here to say whether it's right or wrong. I'm just here to say that it's realistic. You know what I mean? It's only Black women who are, again, demonized for their motherhood. Y'all would never do this to white women. Y'all wouldn't do that. You know how many white couples and other races of people and even some Black couples have been together for, a few years. They have a child. They ultimately get married. And those are the couples that y'all look up to today. You know what I mean? So it's just like, what are we really talking about? what are we really talking about? We got to stop coming online and being a talking head, and just wanting to have something to say, because it's harmful. It's harmful. You got children growing up who need healthy individuals so that they can actually go about acquiring and achieving things other outside of the mediocrity that you guys despise. Right? You guys despise Black mediocrity. We have to be excellent, but at the same time, you guys refuse to instill the emotional security, as well as the internal sense of self-esteem and confidence and self-worth within Black children. And then you get upset when you want to blame single mothers. It's not single mothers. You're beating up on the mothers. You want the mothers to go out here and raise healthy children, but you're beating up on her. You're throwing all this dirt and all this shame on her. Understand that all of this is a myth, okay? When you think of single mother, you think Black woman. It's a shame. It's not a single mother. You're a mother. You're a mother. Y'all don't do this to any other race of women. White women are never categorized single mother. When you think single mother, your mind goes Black. It goes straight to Black. It thinks Black women. You don't think Hispanic woman. You don't think Arab woman. You don't think Muslim woman. You don't think Chinese woman. You think Black. It's time to let up. It's time to turn the page. Peace.